It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays, and hopefully this video will be okay. OBS did a really big update. It's a new interface now, and I'm like, I hope this works. We'll see. Maybe the picture quality will be better for a change. I don't know. We shall see. But we're going to talk about opinions versus actions and the difference between just stating your opinion and behaving poorly, because I've noticed that a lot of people don't seem to know where the line is, and I actually believe to a certain extent this is a social skills deficit, hence doing it on Wellness Wednesday, because obviously if you come across better, if you communicate better, you will be a happier person. So help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/Leanna K. Socialization is a big request for Leanna Care sessions. But I've seen this a lot, not just on social media, in person as well. When a person won't shut up about something that is clearly offending the people right in front of them, and they attempt the defense, what? I'm just stating my opinion. No. This should be simple to understand, but it's not, hence me covering this. Just stating your opinion is saying something once. And when you get a bad reaction, you stop. If you keep pushing, even after, it's clear someone's not interested in the opinion you just stated, then it comes across as seeking validation for your opinion that you're just not going to get, and it's not going to lead anywhere good. And it was interesting because I had one thing on Twitter over the weekend where this guy it was of course about trans stuff. And one guy actually jumped into the conversation and said to the guy who was giving me a hard time, I see this so often. What are you trying to accomplish here? You're not going to convince her. She's not going to agree with you. Why are you continuing? And of course, there was no answer. And at that point, it is just not credible that someone is just expressing their opinion, right? I express my opinions all the time, right? But if something is upsetting to people when I phrase it a certain way, you guys know I talk about this all the time. If there is a better, less upsetting way to say something, I'll do it, right? Because my opinion, while important to me, how do I put this? I prefer to express my opinion in the least upsetting way possible. That doesn't mean I'm changing my opinion. But if I can say things in a way that's going to be better received, I'm going to do it because I'm just stating my opinion. By the way, if anybody's interested in what happened to yesterday's video, I recorded it. I got messed up on the It's Not Therapy prep for this week, and obviously I have to prioritize that because Wednesday, Thursday are Leanna Care sessions. And so I recorded the video, but I didn't get a chance to upload it. And, it was on the Keffels Kiwi Farms thing. And there's an example of I have expressed my opinions on that. But that's one of those things I keep going back and forth. I keep struggling with it. I admit I don't quite know what to think about that whole thing. There are some elements of it where it's like, hold up, this I believe, but overall, I don't have a really strong, I don't know. I'm still sorting it out. I've been really struggling with it. And there's an example of on Twitter, I just sort of state my opinion, because I'm trying to figure out, I get feedback from other people. I'm still super confused, but that to me is just stating my opinion. That's different from really feeling strongly about something and willing to suffer consequences for something I believe in. That is not just stating my opinion at that point. That to me is an actual behavior that I am prepared to be judged on. There's a difference between something not really being strong, I'm just trying it out, and yeah, here's what I believe, and this is a deal breaker, and if you behave certain ways in this way, we can't hang out. And this seems to baffle people. And I admit that I don't entirely understand why. There might be different reasons for different people. And that might be why I can't, isolate a single source and go, how do I navigate this? Because a big one for me, and I know I differ with people on this. Remember I said on Monday, I'm old school about certain things. I have a very old school view of respect. And the idea of respect, I know, has evolved, shall we say. To me, I think it's diluted. And this is one of these things. I know I'm not with the zeitgeist. I know I'm not with the times right now. I know I'm not woke on this one. But I like my definition of respect better. That respect is not the same as liking someone. It's not the same as agreeing with someone. It's something that lasts even when you're annoyed with someone. To me, respect is the recognition, understanding, and commitment to the fact that there are just certain places you don't go, either in general or with a particular person, precisely because it's going to, rob them of their dignity to some extent. And no conflict is worth that. And, some of you may see me playing around with someone and they tried to spread it around and I was showing him disrespect and all that stuff. But it was actually, the guy wouldn't quit. I was like, wow, you're really a masochist, aren't you? You're a big time masochist. And so I started doing sort of joke, like dominatrix stuff. But it was clearly a joke. And then, of course, turns out the guy was mad about it days later. And I actually said to him, look, I'm really sorry I hurt your feelings. It was just jokes for me. Seek help, man. If you're continuing to engage with someone that you think is actively and sincerely disrespecting you, why? Like, that's something I don't understand. If I don't think a respectful dialogue can be had, that's when I end the conversation. And I really don't understand why people hide behind just expressing my opinion. And they'll respond to multiple tweets with essentially the same opinion. And it's really clear, I don't agree with them. I don't like the opinion. I don't want to hear it. Please stop. And it's especially an issue. I had a really thorny situation was somebody was saying something that in public on Twitter, where I thought it would be very hurtful and even possibly harmful to the mental health. And I do mean harm in this way because I know at least one Twitch regular has been struggling with some mental health stuff lately. And because I knew they were in a vulnerable place, I thought that, feeling tricked by a person might actually, destabilize in a way that I was really concerned with. And this was one of these things, I'm actually not proud with the way I responded because I was trying to respect the person right in front of me and consider their feelings. And instead of just going, you're just wrong, stop it, I was like, dude, they can see you. This is public Twitter. Cut it out. Because I didn't want to get into what was so wrong about what the guy was saying. But I regret that now, because now it's like, okay, if those people go and see what I said, the context is lacking. They might think I'm, not as on side as I appear to be. And that's not true. And that's a learning experience that I was, this is the challenge with Twitter. That I come on YouTube, I can talk uninterrupted, right? I can talk for half an hour uninterrupted, so I can do all the setup and all the caveats. With a tweet, it's 240 characters, right? There's only so much you can put in a tweet. And that's why there's just certain things I think aren't necessarily the best things to discuss on Twitter. But then there are some things, because there's that back and forth. It's great to collect people's ideas on Twitter. But that's why it has to stay respectful. And I do not understand what a person's doing when their first response to something involves an ad hominem or an outright insult, like outright name calling. I don't understand why someone would come at somebody in that way and think it starts a conversation. Because at that point, that's not just your opinion. When you are attacking another person's character, when you are engaging in insults, that's behavior. That's not just about what you believe. That's actively attacking another person. That's one of the points where it crosses the line from just stating an opinion to actually behaving badly. And a lot of people, I'm shocked at the number of people that think a bad reaction there is about an opinion. Instead of no, you're behaving badly, you're expressing yourself poorly. Right? Other times I don't, I feel very strongly about trans rights. I don't understand why people just can't let me have that view. Why they need to force their dictionary definition opinion on me. And then, they're not interested in actually having a dialogue about that. Actually seeing where they might be wrong. No, they just want to repeat the same things at me over and over and over again. Again, that is not simply having an opinion. That is not simply expressing an opinion. That is continuing to force an opinion on somebody that's clearly made it clear they're not interested in it. And that is a behavior. That is bad behavior. I will judge you on that behavior. And this is really, really important when it comes to community for me. Precisely because my line for community is I don't want to police opinions. I do not believe myself wise enough to go good idea, bad idea, right? Not when it comes to this social stuff. I judge people on how they behave. And so it's more about how opinions are expressed as opposed to what an opinion is. And obviously sometimes the way an opinion is expressed is, an inherent problem. That if an opinion, is actively demeaning another person, that's not just an opinion, that's a judgment, right? That's not an opinion on a particular piece of legislation or a way somebody offered their opinion, right? That is basically saying, I don't think somebody else deserves dignity. because of how they phrased it, right? And it's all about phrasing, right? And there's this really weird doublethink when it comes to that. And I know it's training by internet, that it's the core of this. And I'm not quite sure what to do because I've had to block some people of late who I don't think meant ill in their hearts, but they didn't listen, didn't stop saying things that were hurtful to other people, and then wanted consideration themselves. You know, I'm very slow to block. And if I say, look, stop doing this or I'm going to block you, and someone goes, fine, block me. One guy said, if you're going to be that hysterical about it, fine, block me. I don't know why people think I make idle threats in that regard. Like, that's a guaranteed block. If I say stop it or I'm going to block you and you pick block, your choice. Of course, 9 times out of 10, they go off and complain, thinking somebody's not going to show me what they wrote. And it makes me realize I made the right decision because they're not considering other people, and not considering other people is a behavior, not just an opinion. And this is where we get down to my lines for when an opinion becomes a behavior. When you're not listening to other people. That's a behavior, not an opinion, right? You have to show respect for other people's positions and other people's opinions so that everybody is allowed to have their opinion. And the minute you start, looking down on opinions that are different from yours simply because they exist, not because of the way they're expressed, but simply because they exist and they're different from yours, that's a behavior, not an opinion. Hopefully that makes sense, right? It's the difference between I have this opinion and everybody who doesn't agree with me is stupid, right? Now, we all do it. We all do that. We all say something of the form that way, and that's fine. But own that that's not just expressing your opinion. That is engaging in a behavior that is judging other people. Be prepared to be judged by it. Especially since I want people to feel comfortable coming here of all identities. And an identity and an opinion is different, right? Somebody can have, say, a Christian conservative identity and hold whatever views they want. And as long as they have space to go, okay, this is what I believe, but I understand that's not the only belief out there, right? Fine. People can personally, disagree with abortion all they want. Don't tell other people what to do, right? People can personally disagree that gay people should get married all they want. Don't tell other people what to do, right? People can personally not understand the transgender experience. Don't tell other people what to do. These are things people are doing in their own lives with their own bodies as consenting adults and with other consenting adults. You don't have the right to force your way of living on somebody else. And you also don't have the right to tell another person that their experience isn't real. You can question details, right? I mean, I'm not saying everybody should just take at face value. I'm not a listen and believe type of person, right? I'm a listen person. But because I listen, there are certain things that are going to go, well, that's inconsistent and that's inconsistent and that's inconsistent. And because of that, another place people get into trouble with me, And I stand by this. This is something that's not going to change. When someone starts denying reality, again, that's not just an opinion, that's a behavior. So there's this one guy who tried to change what he said in an original tweet exchange. And I said, that is not what you said. Yes, it is. That is not what you said. Yes, it is. Stop lying. It's not what you said. I'm not lying. Do you need me to pull the tweet? I know what I said. Okay, I'm going to pull the tweet. Here's the tweet. And of course, the tweet was what I said, not what the guy said he said, because I looked up the tweet before I called him on it. And he was looking right at it and denied it said what it said. And I said, dude, the tweet is right there. I said, well, I meant to say the other thing. He didn't say, you're right. I didn't actually say what I meant to say. He just dug in. He couldn't admit he made a mistake. And you know what? Memory is faulty. The nice thing about Twitter is you can go back and look at what you said. And I remember inaccurately all the time. I have trauma memory, which means certain things aren't great. And so I really appreciate being able to go back and see exactly what I said, because I don't frickin' remember. You know, people tell me I said lines in some show in 2002. That's great that they remember. I sure don't. Right? I have to check my yearbooks to remember the year I graduated high school, because one of the things that trauma does to the brain is affects your ability to tell time. So like the 90s and 2000s are all like, I can go, okay, what songs were on the radio? What was I reading? What was I doing? I can look up the year it was that way. But do I actually remember it? No, I don't. You know, post 2013, when I actually got treatment for the PTSD, my memory of years is much better. But I'm not going to claim I know for certain a date in that period. You get what I'm saying? Because I know I don't know. And again, that's a behavior, not just an opinion. And it says something about someone's character when they can't admit they made a mistake. And again, that's a behavior, not just an opinion. And here's the thing about refusing, even when it's right in front of you, refusing to admit you've made a mistake, is that your opinion can now be dismissed as worthless because you're not willing to learn. It's just inflicting your noise on other people. You're not engaging in a conversation that's a give and take, and you're going to listen to and consider other points of view. And again, that's a behavior. I want people with open minds. I want people they have their views. It could be a very strong view, but they're willing to make space for other views. Because the reality is, with a lot of these really tough things, there's no solidly right and wrong, right? There's different experiences. And it is incredibly hard, especially if you're not good at abstractions, to, put yourself in the position of an experience you have not had. And so sometimes it's less a question of right and wrong, and sometimes just a question of different. And again, when I see someone unwilling to make space for different, that's a behavior, not just an opinion. And so the other thing I want to talk about is what happens when an opinion itself robs someone of their dignity. Right? Because that's a behavior. When you are robbing someone of their dignity, that's not just an opinion. There are ways of stating opinions that don't rob people of their dignity. For instance, I think there's not enough research into transgender medicine for me to be convinced I need more data is an opinion. You're not saying it's dead wrong. You're just saying I need more data. I don't think trans women are women. That's robbing someone of their dignity. And it's really interesting to me that people don't get that. And to me that does, and again, this is my opinion. I could be wrong about this. This is me acknowledging that this is a judgment of mine. I do find things stated that way a character flaw. I think that people who you're not enough of this identity, you don't do enough to perform your identity, you aren't really this thing. I don't believe anybody has the right to say that to another person. I think that it's like, okay, you truly believe what you're saying. We need to work out reasonable accommodation. But it is just not possible to say, I respect trans women, but I don't think they're really women. Because the statement is inherently disrespectful. You know, you don't get to deny it's raining just because you don't want to bring an umbrella. And you don't get to say, I don't think you're really the thing you identify with, but I respect you. You just don't. And not being able to show respect is a behavior. If you truly respect someone, you know, at this point, people recognize that trans people and me believe that they are their gender identity. That, you know, their gender identity trumps their biological sex because it's more relevant in day-to-day stuff. So for the purposes of bathrooms and change rooms and every place it matters, trans women are women, trans men are men. And announcing that you don't agree, that's not just an opinion, that's a behavior. Because it's not your business, right? Unless you actively want to put a stop to someone else's behavior, why are you saying that other than to hurt people's feelings? Because that's the thing about just stating my opinion. The act, the behavior of stating your opinion does say something about your character if you know it's going to hurt people, it's going to upset people. And if you're going to state an opinion that basically invalidates somebody's identity or the way they live their life, expect them to get the impression that you don't respect them and they may not want to be around you. And if you can't accept responsibility for the way you phrase things that way, well, that's not just an opinion, that's a behavior. Do you see how that works? Now, respect, it's not enough for somebody to say, I respect you. I've said in a video here, respect is something that's done. Respect is an ongoing series of actions. It's not just a statement. Respect is in your behavior. Respect isn't just about being courteous or being nice to someone, right? Respect is, you know, working with somebody so that everybody can keep their dignity. Respect is having empathy. Respect means really listening. You know, one thing I get when I have conflicts with people is, oh, this is really too bad. I thought you were smart. It's a put down. It's not real, because my thought is, well, if you thought I was smart, why didn't you listen to me when I told you to knock it off? Normally, when a smart person talks, somebody you think is smart, you hit the brakes because they're trying to help you, right? I'm not a person that just gets into conflict for the sake of conflict. I don't particularly like conflict. I've just had to get good at it because it's the nature of the job, right? But I don't understand why someone would say, oh, I think she's really smart. I'm going to completely ignore her on this thing that she's obviously spent more time considering than I have. That's not just an opinion, that's a behavior. The minute you open your mouth on an opinion, the statement is a behavior. And I'm just expressing my opinion is not a panacea when you've been told that the way you expressed your opinion upset someone. And I'm making this video because I actually think that there are some people that have never been taught that they had some abusive authority figure in their life, probably a parent, who flung a whole bunch of abuse at them and then said, what, I'm just expressing my opinion. Or they saw them do it to their mother or their father or something like that. But they actually think that that's what it means to just express your opinion. And it's not. There are ways of expressing your opinion on something that aren't inherently disrespectful to other people. Or, conversely, there are some opinions that I have that are inherently disrespectful to people. I don't respect TERFs. I don't respect transphobes. I don't respect people who are cruel, knowingly. It's one thing to not know you're hurting somebody, but the minute you're clearly upsetting someone and you keep going, I don't respect that. I absolutely do not respect that. I don't understand it. And am I going to treat somebody like that in a disrespectful manner? Absolutely. Absolutely. And if they don't want to talk to me, I'm fine with that. All the better. And that's the difference, right? I am prepared to accept the consequences of what I do. I ended up on another damn block list. And part of it, this is why I kind of went blah on Amber Heard stands this week, because I ended up on a block list for using a pro Johnny Depp hashtag to tell Johnny Depp stans to stop calling Amber Heard a see you next Tuesday. That got me put on a block list. And you know me when I get put on a block list. It's like, all right, if these people are blocking me, okay, I don't have to worry about grief. Here comes the tsunami, man. And like, talk about a group of people that I don't respect based on behavior, not opinion. You know, somebody believes Johnny Depp is guilty of sin and Amber Heard's a victim. I wasn't there. I don't know. Maybe you're right. That is not where I come down on it, but I can see, especially if somebody didn't follow the trial terribly closely and just got their opinions from mainstream news, I can completely see why someone would come to that conclusion. But the minute you start insulting somebody or insisting they're just protecting an abuser or that you hate women, somebody said, he's not going to pick you. And my joke on that was, why do people think I do things for the attention of men? I do things for the attention of Megan the Stallion, and she doesn't know I'm alive. Like, that was the actual joke. But, the minute they start doing that, that's not just an opinion. That's a behavior. And it is amazing how many groups of people, how many activist groups just completely put me off, not based on their opinions, based on their behavior. Because behavior, being able to communicate with people with whom you disagree, people who might even hate you, that's the role of advocacy. I mean, in the 90s, I had to go into groups of people who hated gay people. I watched one guy break out into a sweat when he found out there was a gay man in the room. And I thought, oh man, what happened to that guy? What priest abused him? Not a joke. I actually wondered if there was some abuse there. Because why the physical reaction, right? Why the fear? People get trained to distrust the other. And you have to go in there and give them a fairly decent experience so that they can recognize, yeah, okay, maybe there's more to this than what I've been taught. And when you go in there using the language of protest, when, you go in there insisting, I'm just going to fling dirty words, and if you don't agree with me, you're a bad person. I'm sorry. No, I insist people do better than that. And groups defined by that, I'll give back. But if they block me, I don't complain. And if they don't like me, I earned it. I don't want them to like me. And that accountability is what matters. That accountability where you recognize that the way you say something matters and you're willing to be held accountable for what you actually did. Not the lies somebody tells about what you did, or not somebody putting intentions on that you didn't have, but what you actually did, your actual words, your actual gestures. If you're prepared to be held accountable for that, have any opinion you want. But the minute you start being unaccountable that way, that's not an opinion anymore. That's a behavior. I welcome accountable people to my YouTube and Twitch communities, access to me on Twitter. I have no interest in facilitating disrespect because that's a behavior, not an opinion. So hopefully everybody's super clear on that now. Can't say I didn't tell you. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching. Think about what I've said, because, respectful treatment of others is a reflection of a respectful treatment of yourself. So respect is the path to wellness. Be well.